or welcome back to the show. This is Anna, and you're watching Anna Speaks Out. Thanks for being here. Hello, how are you all doing? So, sorry that I have not made a full-length video in a little while since the Andrew Tate video, which honestly, I don't enjoy even watching because it's such dark, icky stuff, but felt like it was important to get out there. So hopefully, that has had some positive impact on some people. But I have been meaning, at least in the last few days, to make a video about the toxic chemical spill from the train in Ohio that I guess blew up. I've been gathering some information about that, but having a 10.5-month-old baby at home to take care of makes it difficult to find the time to do a full-length video. And I have just so many ideas, and it gets overwhelming wanting to do so many things at once. It kind of leads to action paralysis or whatever you call it. But this morning I saw this video from Nick Jones, one of my favorite Christian creators, and one of my favorite creators. He's kind of similar to me. He talks about current events, but I love how everything that he talks about just really has to do with God and the Bible, Jesus, because that's obviously the most important thing that there ever will be to talk about. And the video that I saw today was actually from a week ago, but it was talking about LeBron James and how people are basically worshiping him for doing really well in sports, and how it's pretty actually blasphemous. If you watch his video, you'll see it is. And he was talking at the end about how Jesus is the only one who we should truly be focused on majorly, who should be our primary focus in life as Christians. And if you are not a Christian, if you don't know God, I would encourage you to look into the Bible or talk to Christians who you know. But I wanted to share some of my own testimony that just backs up the fact that Jesus is greater than every human being who has ever lived or ever will live. Nick was saying, even if everybody in the world, hypothetically agreed that there was this one person who was just so much better than anybody else, they would in no way begin to compare to Jesus. And I have true testimony of that for myself. So a few years ago, I think around the end of 2018, I was in a bit of a dark place, definitely not the most dark place that I've been in my life. But I was living with my sister and her 3 kids, and it was a small place. I was working 3 part-time jobs while in the middle of trying to move to a new city because I had to leave where I was living with roommates because the guy who lived there had an alcohol problem, and he was always getting drunk, and he was an angry drunk. I had dealt with domestic abuse myself in the past, and so I just couldn't deal with him yelling and throwing things and just getting really out of hand with his girlfriend and their 5-year-old son there. I actually called the police on him, before I left, shortly before I left for good, and he got arrested for a little while. So it was nothing super major, but he did get arrested. So yeah, it was just a stressful time for me, having to just leave without actually knowing where I was going to go initially. And God provided an incredible place for me to move to. I ended up moving to Coronado, which is a super nice city, and I got low-income housing there. It was a total godsend, kind of out of nowhere. But in the midst of all that, living with my sister and her kids in a small 2-bedroom place that was, too small for any of us altogether, I would say, I was just really under pressure and stressed out, working 3 part-time jobs. As I was saying, I had to take the bus to get to them because I've never had a car most of my life because I just couldn't afford it. So there was one night, and I was feeling lonely too. I was already around 30 years old or so and single, and didn't know if I would ever get married. I am now for about 1.5 years or so. Praise the Lord. But yeah, I was just feeling really down and lonely, and so I decided to cry out to God, Jesus Christ, and ask God if you would just please allow me to feel your presence here so I can really, really tangibly know that you're here and I can feel less alone. And very shortly, probably within like 30 seconds or something after I prayed that, I felt this presence. I couldn't see or hear or feel anything tangibly, but it's like if you've ever felt like somebody was standing behind you or watching you or something, you couldn't see them, but you could just kind of feel them there. It was like that, but like times 100 or 1,000. There was very clearly something there that wasn't there before, and it was so powerful that I got really startled. I'm pretty sure there's accounts in the Bible of situations like that where God appeared to people and they would just, they fell on their face because they just couldn't even handle it. And I remember thinking that, wow, this is so powerful and strong. I can't handle this. And then it went away shortly after that. But yeah, that was just truly supernatural to me. And it wasn't negative, it was a positive thing, but it was just so powerful that I knew it was so beyond me. So that was the main point that I wanted to share. But that is not the only thing that has ever happened. That is just the most actually not even the most recent. There had been at least one other circumstance after that, after I lived in Coronado, and I was incredibly anxious about something that, I thought something really bad was going to happen, having to do with my past. It never happened, but I was experiencing some extreme anxiety. I do have PTSD also from the past abusive situation that I had been in. And I think that was the night that I had some friends, some Christian friends, pray for me about that fear. Might not have even been. It might have been just around that same time. But, I talked to God about it, and I felt a presence, like someone was there just like giving me a hug, and I just felt this love just surrounding me. And I want to say, I have tried other spirituality before. I was looking into paganism for a while before I came back to God. I told my whole story before, which I should probably link in the description of this video. But yeah, when I prayed to goddesses before, which I realize now were demons, and I've since renounced it, but that never did anything for me like reaching out to Jesus did. So I want to make that distinction. I tried those things and it did not fulfill me the way that Jesus did. So that's how I know that Jesus is God and Jesus is real. The very first experience I ever had like this with Jesus was when I was about 12 years old, and I was on the floor in my bedroom on my knees. So I guess I had just heard about, people getting on their knees to pray, and I wanted to try it. I wanted to really have a strong, true connection with God. And I did like what you would call a prayer of adoration, where you're just kind of telling God all the things that you love about him before, asking for things and stuff like that. And in the midst of that, I was like very deep into it. I feel like I may have been transported to heaven temporarily. It was like the most vivid vision you could ever have, like a waking dream that's just very, very real. And I was in this clearing with a waterfall in front of me and like a patch of grass and flowers and trees, and it was just incredibly tranquil and peaceful and beautiful, and I loved it. And then, quickly after that, I was back in my room, and yeah, I wasn't on any kind of substances or anything. So I'm pretty sure I may have been transported to heaven temporarily. Thank you again so much for being here today. Since you liked the video enough to make it all the way to the end, don't forget to click the thumbs up and share with somebody else who would also find it interesting. Leave your comments below and we'll all have a conversation. If you really enjoyed it, check out the description for several different ways that you can support. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you're in, and I'll see you in the next one.